go. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Good evening, Atlanta. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here, News 95.5 AM 750 WSB. It is Atlanta's Evening News. I am your host, Eric Erickson. The phone number 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. And guess what? Hallelujah. By and large, radar is clear. So good. The President of the United States held a press conference today, and the media is outraged, and I'm actually not by what he said. Listen to this statement by the president, which I think, fact check, true.
So will George Washington... No, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down... Excuse me. Are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
The press is outraged by this. They didn't like his statement on Saturday, and neither did I, because he didn't name-check the white supremacists. No one would have been in Charlottesville protesting but for the white supremacists. So he came out on Monday and he named the white supremacists. And the press wasn't happy. Why didn't you do it on Saturday? He doesn't really mean it. That was one of the accusations. So now he comes out today, after there's been another round of left-wing violence, destruction of property and whatnot, and he again says the white supremacists need to be condemned, but the left-wing people need to be condemned too. And he points out logically, honestly, accurately, are we going to start taking down statues of George Washington? In some places they have. In some places, they're demanding changes to get rid of Thomas Jefferson, to get rid of George Washington, to get rid of other founding fathers who they claim were slave owners. He's actually making a good point. But the press is, he's already lost 2020. The Republicans have already lost 2018 because of this press conference. I actually think this helps the Republicans. I was talking to my Trump barometer, friend of mine, who loves the president. Actually, I shouldn't say he loves the president. He's with the president. He's with him because he was the guy running against Hillary Clinton. He was the guy who won the Republican primary, and he's with the president. And he decided to tell me yesterday that he's angry with the president. Do you know why he's angry with the president? He's angry because the president didn't prosecute Hillary Clinton and said he would. And that what Hillary Clinton did deserves to be prosecuted. But he says, but I'm okay with everything else. And then he said, in fact, I got to stay with the president. I got to stay with him because otherwise these people are going to be in charge. And there's some truth to that. And I'm hearing that from more and more people who they don't particularly care for the president. In fact, they're more and more put off by the president. But they're sticking with him because of the alternative, these social justice warriors. We are in the midst of a cultural revolution. We're in the midst of an American-style French Revolution where it's not a far step from tearing down monuments to going after people. And we're already seeing the left come after people. We're already there, and the media doesn't want to talk about it. We need to talk about it. But first, we need to talk with Doug Turnbull about traffic.
Yeah, we got some breaking news here about 514 WSB here. We're up over a plane that either ran off the, it looks like it ran off the runway, but it might have crashed here at Cherokee County Airport, and it's right off the northeast side of the runway here at the airport, which runs off of Airport Drive just west of 575, and the plane is kind of caught up in the catchment and sheared its wings here. There's a large response on scene of about a dozen or so response vehicles, 3 fire trucks. We're not sure of any injuries at this time. Our 24-hour news team is working on this, trying to get more on it. Quickly on 285, we'll tell you 285 east and south, the inner loop is running about an hour, as you've heard us saying, for 400 around the Covington Highway, and your outer loop ride is most of an hour, 285 west and south. The average delay is between Ashford, Dunwoody, and I-20, the West Freeway, Eric.
Thank you, sir. The problem we've got right now is that the left views themselves as moral crusaders. So when you've got left-wing activists tearing down Confederate statues, as happened last night, and they don't have police permission to do it, they don't have government permission to do it, the left is okay with it. Because, I mean, I pointed out this morning that this is a violation of the rule of law. You want to tear down the Confederate statue? Get a permit. Get permission. And they're like, were you outraged when they tore down the Lenin and Stalin statues with the fall of the Soviet Union? Were you outraged by them tearing down Saddam Hussein? When you see the United States of America in 2017 as equivalent to the fall of the Berlin Wall, the collapse of the Soviet Union, or the destruction of Saddam Hussein's regime, you're doing it wrong. But that's what the left is doing. They are giving moral clout, moral clarity, moral qualification, moral authority to left-wing activists to do what they're doing, which is just furthering emboldening them. And what you're seeing happen is a response on the right. Remember Isaac Newton, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So you're seeing the alt-left rise, so now you're seeing the alt-right rise. You're seeing the alt-right rise, so now you're seeing the alt-left rise. And the problem is that the media is on the side of the alt-left. The media doesn't see anything wrong. The media is outraged by the president, pointing out that George Washington statue should come down next. What? Are you crazy? And some of them probably thinking, well, why not? He was a slave owner. Back in 2015, I wrote about the Confederate flag. And I noted that I have very few friends in the South, living in the South, who really care about the Confederate flag. It's not something we think about on a daily basis. But what is happening is a bunch of Yankees, and it is Yankees, millennial Yankees from the North, coming to the South demanding we get rid of the Confederate flag everywhere. And as a result, I'm starting to see them more and more. Now, I would not fly the Confederate flag because whether raised in the South, what have you, I'm a Christian first. And I think it harms my witness to my black friends and neighbors to fly the Confederate flag. I think it would render me unapproachable by them, and I wouldn't do it. But I'm not someone who looks at it and thinks that everyone who flies it is racist. In the South, most people who fly it happen to do it because of a heritage, and it's not a heritage where they're proud of slavery. It's a heritage where they are proud of their ancestors who came before them, many of whom weren't fighting in the Confederacy for slavery, but fighting because they viewed it as their country. Robert E. Lee was one of them. He didn't like the institution of slavery. He freed his slaves, but Robert E. Lee viewed Virginia as his country. The United States was an abstract experiment to him. He was fighting for Virginia, his country. By the way, Robert E. Lee, a role model for many people, and you would never know that given the social justice warriors. Deservedly so a role model. But I wouldn't fly the Confederate flag. But I don't look on people who do and think unrepentant racist. I've got a lot of friends who are sons of Confederate veterans, not because they want to prop up slavery, not because they want the Confederacy back, but because they are descendants of Confederate soldiers, and they tend to their graves and they honor them. And what we've got now is a left that is unwilling to allow any moral leeway on that. There can be no compromise. It is convert or be destroyed. Convert or have your statues torn down. Convert or be tarred as a racist. And when that happens, people on the other side get their back up against the wall, and they're going to stand with Donald Trump. They may not like him, but they're going to stand with him because he's the only thing standing between them and the left that's coming for their heritage, a heritage they're proud of. You got Stacey Abrams right now. Stacey Abrams has no shot at being governor in Georgia, but she's trying to get the social justice warriors on her side. She allowed them to shout down her white opponent, Stacey Evans, at the Nutroots Nation event, and now she's saying we need to strip Robert E. Lee off the side of Stone Mountain. We need to tear down the Confederate Memorial in Decatur. She's only doing these things to boost her fundraising. She's playing with fire, and she doesn't care. Democrats do not care. The left do not care. They view themselves as having a moral conviction to do this. So did the cultural revolutionaries in China who killed millions of people. So did the French revolutionaries who killed hundreds of thousands of people. They all started tearing down statues. And when the statues were all torn down, they had nowhere left to go except to turn on the people who had stood up to them and label those people as enemies, labeling those people as enemies of the world, labeling those people as worth dying because they're evil. This does not stop without violence unless good people stand up and say, let the past be the past. It's time to move on. Stand down. And no one right now seems willing to do that loudly enough. Everybody's playing to their side. Everybody's got to be in a cult of personality. You can count me out.
Atlanta's news, weather, and traffic, plus WSB's Eric Erickson. Atlanta's evening.